Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Super excited about this one. Somebody asked me, what are the pros and cons between Turo and private? So I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna show you pros, cons between both to help you make a better understanding. Should I be in private? Should I just do Turo? Should I do both? Like, what do I do? I mean, this should help you make that determination. I'm gonna start with Turo. Lots of pros to Turo, and of course there's a lot of cons. But first off, the best thing about Turo is you buy a car, you can build your profile, put it up on the platform, and like literally get rentals within the first 15 to 30 minutes, like setting it up and getting everything ready. I'd say about 30 minutes, including setting up your profile. Like the process is very quick. So first thing is quick and easy. Which is nice, you know. It's such little headache. You put it up, you put the settings right, set it and forget it, pretty much. I mean, obviously you have to go back and modify the settings, but it's just so easy to initially get up. Of course, you have to do your research on how to get it up and like the certain settings you need to do, but it's just so easy. The second pro about Turo is they handle the process, as in they have the contracts, they have the systems, they have the website, like they have everything built out. So essentially all you need to do, put your car up, communicate with the guest, drop it off, pick it up, handle client communications, and then put in a claim if there is any. So they have the back end, which is super nice. I mean, that's probably the biggest difference between Turo and private. The two main differences, the first is they have a back end. Like if something happens, you should be safe. Like Turo protects you. Now in private, you don't really get that. You kind of have to build your system so you protect yourself. And then of course the payout is more payout. So I mean, we'll go over that in a minute. Another pro about Turo is you can constantly modify things. Like they don't give you a ton of control, but they give you just enough control to modify your prices, your bookings. I mean, there's some good settings in there. So I think setting control is nice. And then I really like, we're Power Host. There's regular, then there's All-Star, then there's Power Host. There's levels of Power Host. But when you become Power Host, and I believe All-Star too, you get a special, they pick up differently. They pick up quicker, better people that pick up, help you faster. I really like their customer service, because when you think about like insurance company or an airline, you can't get a hold of those people. I don't know about everybody else's experience, but for some reason when I call big companies like that, you just cannot get a hold of people. With Turo, I mean, we're Power Host, so it's a little different than All-Star and before that, but the people pick up the phone in like 30 seconds or less. I mean, they pick up right away, which is huge. I love that. They pick up their phones, which again, you just don't get that a lot. Another pro with Turo is insurance. Like the biggest question that people have is, how does insurance work? How can I do insurance for private? And we'll get into that, but people don't understand it. And by having Turo's insurance policy, like that's nice. I mean, it's nice that they are able to pretty much cover you. There's a deductible, there's a percentage you give them. We kind of know that you're safe. As long as you follow their procedure, you follow their TOS, like terms of service, you should be good. So I think that's a huge benefit. There's probably a couple other smaller benefits to Turo, but that's mainly it. I mean, you have quick and easy process. They have their back-end system, their contracts, everything. Like they have it set, which is nice. And that's something you kind of have to build if you're getting into private. Setting control, which is nice. You don't have a ton of control, and that's actually one of the cons, is you don't have full control. You have some control, you just don't have full control. Pick up their phones, which I really like, and then insurance is kind of taken care of for you. You still need an insurance policy for when you drive it to the airport or get it washed. You still need to be covered, but they insure the guest, which is everybody's biggest question. Actually, I have one more for this. This is huge. This is really big, and this is something that you have to do in private. They have vetting, so they'll do a background check, and I know sometimes the renters you're just not sure about, but they still vet the people. So I will tell you, we had a couple people come to us for private. They went through our vetting process, and we said, like we're just not sure about them. So we sent them through to Turo. That's kind of our last resort, and Turo didn't approve them. So I don't know what was wrong with their history or what was going on with them, but I'm sure glad that I sent them to Turo, and Turo was able to vet them and tell them no, because in my heart I knew, thank God. I mean, if I would have just let them rent a car and said screw it, who knows what could happen. I don't even know what was on their record or know what was happening with them. Obviously there's systems to prevent that, and you can have like a true vetting process to do background checks on people, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. A con with Turo is you're giving up revenue. So essentially you're losing money. And I'm probably going to fill up the whiteboard after this on ways you're losing money, but there's a lot. It's not just like the percentage that you give them for insurance is literally the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's nothing. There's so many different ways that they make money on top of you. If you look at a Turo receipt from a guest versus yours, like what you get, it's a huge difference. It's sometimes, I'd say, average 50% to 100% more. So if you're getting $100, Turo's getting 200, and that's not including like insurance or anything else. Like if they have all that stuff, it can be like up to 3 times, which is crazy. And of course, we're going to get into that. They don't have full control. Like when you have your own private system, you know who the guest is. You have all their information. On Turo, it's like you get their phone number, you can chat with them, you get their birth, you get when they join Turo, and then at the very end when you're checking them in, you can see when they, or their birth date, and then their full name, which, I mean, that's not a lot of information. You don't know who's really renting your car, and I guess it's fine because Turo, again, has that vetting process, and they make sure that they're safe or okay to rent, but you just don't know. You don't know. It's still a little eerie, especially when you're starting. You still have to have a process of vetting in Turo, because there's so many people that will do an airport delivery and just send somebody else to pick it up, and then they'll go do border runs. We're in Arizona, so that's more common than you think. So there's still processes you have to avoid things like that. Another con with Turo is, I would say, it's not for sure. And what I mean by that is, with private, you put in $1, you get X amount back. You can have calculated revenue return. But with Turo, you can't. You can estimate that a car should make this much, between this much and this much. The only problem is when you get into slow season, everybody's taking their prices to zero. Like just not zero, but as close to it as possible. People are dropping their prices like crazy. It's a race to the bottom. So, and with Turo, the more people get on it, the more saturated it becomes, the lower the prices are going to be going, because everyone's going to be fighting to get to the bottom to get booked out. So it's a very, I mean, you're just not sure exactly what you're going to get. Of course, you can guesstimate, like, I mean, you can do the Turo calculator, you can look into the Turo pages and look at what other people are renting out, look at day rate, look at utilization, but it's not 100% guaranteed. And again, if more people join, that number is going to slowly go down. So another thing is, I think that's really it. I mean, losing money is probably the biggest. Full control is really big. And then for sure, you're just not 100% sure what kind of return you're going to be getting through Turo. You can guesstimate it, estimate it, but you're not 100% sure. With private, like, we have numbers. We know if we spend $1, we're roughly going to get $11 back from the marketing that we spent. And that could be between any one cars, but we know what cars make what amount of money, and then we could determine purchase price versus what it generates versus depreciation, and kind of go from there. Let's talk about private now. Might come back to Turo and write a couple other things down, but biggest pro for private is 100% the revenue increase. So revenue up. So there's a couple numbers that we have. We see anywhere from 50% to, or 50% to 100% increase in revenue. So if maybe we'd make $100 on Turo, we're now going to make $200, and it varies. So this month, for example, it's the 10th of the month, 9th of the month, and we're at, let me check. We're at $7,000 in revenue on Turo, and then on private, we're at $13,000, and we've only spent like $2,000 in ads. So we were able to, or maybe it's less than that. It's probably $1,500, but we're able to build that $12,000 in revenue, or I guess additional $10,500 just in pretty much marketing, which is huge. The second thing is control. Like when you have a private system, when you have it built out, you have full control of the full process. If you want to tell somebody, I'm not going to rent to you. You're not going to get dinged on Turo. You're not going to get a bad review on Turo. You're not, I mean, there's so many different like places where you lose control. You don't know exactly who you're renting to. You're not able to, like, there's just like, there's a lot. I mean, I guess an example would be, let's say somebody stole your car. Of course, Turo takes care of the process. They go through everything. But if you did it on your own, you'd be able to do it a lot faster. So you could contact the insurance company a lot quicker. If you had to sue them for some reason, get the money, you can get that a lot quicker. Now the con to private, of course, is the legwork. And that's everybody's biggest thing. They don't know how to do the legwork. They don't know how to get everything started. And I'll give you a couple little pieces right now on just the basics on what you need. But there's quite a bit. But once you have it built, the system is really, really easy. We can do private reservations. It probably takes 25% longer-ish to do private reservations, but the revenue is way higher. The only difference is we have to take a phone call from them, vet them within like 60 to 120 seconds, so 1 to 2 minutes, and then we have to just check their insurance, make sure it's legit, and that's it. I mean, that's like once you have everything built out, that's the extent of your vetting process. So the things that you typically need for private rentals is you need a website. You should have one. You need to have a backend software on your website so people can actually book a car. They can go on. They can see what's available. It's kind of like having a Turo. You need to have a contract. You have to have a contract. You have to make sure that you know who's liable, because if they just take a car, don't have a contract, they could just say they borrowed it from you, then it's a civil case. And then in the contract, there's a lot of things that you need that are very important. You need to have a stolen car code in there, because if you don't, then the insurance company is not going to pay you out because you can't convert it to a stolen car. There's so much information on the contract, but you have to have a good contract. You have to have a good system. It's like every part of the process, kind of like Turo, you have a system. You know how you drop off the cars, you know how you communicate with the guests, you know what happens if this happens. Like you need to build out a system. A lot of it's going to be built as you go. So, but you have to continually modify it. If you figure out a solution to something, don't wait to implement it immediately. That's how we find the best success. Other things that you need for private, I mean, this kind of goes with Turo as well, but market research, determining what cars actually rent out privately. There's so many ways to do that. You can look at major car rental companies to see what they have a lot of vehicles on. So like VW Tiguan's, they have Suburbans. There's like only certain cars though that they have. And so we look at that, and then that helps us determine roughly what we can make every month, and that helps us determine what we can buy it for and whether it's worth it or not. So a lot of research, but definitely worth it. Last thing you need is a vetting process to make sure that you can actually rent to the person, but that's pretty easy. It's just kind of a list of questions and then possibly background check depending on the situation. So I'll give you an example. If they're local here and their car broke down or something like that, typically on the phone you can hear whether they're like serious or not, as in some people seem a little sketchy and some people don't. Like maybe an older person, like, hey, my car broke down and I need another car. But then there's some people that are kind of like twisting their stories and stuff. People that are like twisting their stories, background check, make sure no criminal history, make sure that they have a good driving record. If they don't, then you have a vetting process in that. If it's too bad, you send them to Turo. If it is just okay, then you have like a threshold of, okay, this looks pretty good, I'm going to rent them privately. Or again, if they pass the threshold of this is too bad, I'm going to send it to Turo, let them do a double verification, and then they can determine whether we're going to rent to them or not. This is huge. Another big thing is marketing, I would say, is a big one. Because I'm going to spend $1 and I'm going to get 11 back. It's probably not going to be the same for you, but you have an actual return on revenue, like calculated number that you have. With Turo, you don't. You roughly think, I'm going to buy a $10,000 Elantra. I'm going to make $8,500 is what Turo says I'm going to make a year. I think market gets super saturated. Okay, that number goes down to $6,500 and you don't have any control over that. You can lower your prices, get higher utilization, offer free delivery, but there's only so much you can do. So there's a threshold to it. But with private, there's really not. I mean, it's an unlimited potential. The next thing that's really nice about private is it's scalable. So essentially, when you build a Turo fleet, a Turo account, it's not really worth anything. Like if you think in terms of, I'm going to build a company and in 10 years I want to sell it for $10 million, and you calculate, okay, this is how many cars I need to have, this is how much revenue I need to be generating, this needs to be my net. But the problem is when you have your number on Turo, you're at the mercy of them. So they could just say, we don't like the way you're handling customers, we don't like what you're doing on Turo, whatever reason. And you don't hear about this a lot, but it's possible. Maybe it's reviews, maybe it's something else. They could just kick you off their platform. Like, I mean, you could be getting ready to sell this, your huge company that you have built, whatever, and I don't think you're allowed to do that. And then they're just like, yeah, well, you know, too bad, we didn't like that you did this, you went against terms of service, like you're gone. With a private company, you make your own rules. You can do whatever you want. Of course, you have to be reasonable, but like you control every part of the process, everything, and nobody's kicking you out. You have full control. And when you look at it from an investor standpoint, when you're at the mercy of somebody like Turo, the EBITDA, what they're willing to pay based on the net income of the company, is going to be a lot less when you're at the mercy of something else, versus when you have full control. An investor can look and say, I know I can spend $1,000 and get 10,000 back. Like I can see that from your 2 years of calculated, you know, marketing strategy. I mean, there's like, it's way different in my eyes. It's worth a lot more money. So, and it's, so in that sense, scalable and actually worth something. The last part about private that I will mention is you're able to adapt and change things really quickly. So if you think like, I want to change my website, or if I want to change this, like there's so many things that you can test to determine how well something's going to do. And I know Turo kind of does that. I know you can do it within Turo, but with private, you control everything. This kind of just all goes back to control, and there's just a ton of it. I'm going to put in some cons for private. Vetting is probably one of the bigger ones, along with legwork. You have to make sure you're renting the right person. Probably one of the last ones is insurance. A lot of people cannot figure out insurance, and I understand insurance is tough. I'll tell you, there's major insurance companies like Liberty Mutual, State Farm, like they have fleet insurance that you can get. That's more expensive than like an actual fleet insurance company like GMI or Lula. And what I would recommend is, each state's different, because some insurance won't do fleet in some states, and then some insurance is way higher in other states. It's like so different that I can't even give a solution to everybody. But my solution is find all of those different companies. So find the Liberty Mutual Fleet Insurance, find GMI, find Lula, find the ones that are in your state, call all of them and get a quote for the insurance. And insurance, you have to make sure that they know you're doing private rentals, not just Turo, because there's a difference. Typically, like Lula, for example, they only cover so much. And when you look at the price jack from renting on Turo versus renting privately, it's a big difference as far as cost. So, and then the other solution for us was GMI, and GMI was like half the price. So it's like a no-brainer, but that may be different in another state. This is really it. It's pretty simple. With Turo, you get like back end, you get support, you get people, you have setting control somewhat. You have people that are picking up the phone, so you have people that, they're there to help you. You have insurance, and then you have vetting. You're losing revenue, you are losing a lot of control, and you don't have a for sure return on investment. You have a somewhat calculated return, but it's not like a for sure, and it could decrease. With private, you can increase that, and you can always increase your margin. Totally you can too, but there's only a cap to it. Revenue increase on private, full control, money to money. You know you're going to spend this much, you know you're going to get this much back. You can calculate that and know it. Private or Turo, you can't. Scalable, it's really worth something. I mean, you have something that's built, and investors is going to look at this and say, I would so much rather have this than this. So much rather have a private company than a Turo company. I know it's worth more money because I know I can put this much in and get this much back out. Cons, of course, legwork. You have to do your vetting, and then you need insurance. So it's not a big thing, but again, once you have it set up, you're good. So let's talk about, this is probably one of the bigger things that people want to know, is like, where am I really losing revenue on Turo? So let me erase this real quick. Okay, let's talk about it. Lost revenue. Where are you actually losing money on Turo? Because when I was starting, my only thought was, oh, I'm only losing money on the percentage that I'm giving them. Wrong. You're so wrong. That's not the only place you're losing money. That's like the tip of the iceberg. So you're obviously losing money on that percent that they take. And they call it insurance, but the only problem is like private, for example, if somebody wrecks your car, you're going to go through their insurance because they're insured and it's going to cover rentals, and you're going to already have made sure of that. Now, if they have a deductible, you're not paying that. Why would you pay the deductible for their accident? They are required by law for the insurance companies to pay their deductible. So what you have to do for Turo is pay that $2,500 or zero, depending on it. But of course, that changes to 40% with a $0 deductible, or $2,500 deductible with 10% give to them. So like you're giving up a lot. And I understand accidents are rare, but the times that it happens, like that sucks. That really sucks. So I'm gonna put that. So $2,500 per accident. And I'm sure some of you guys are on the 40% plan, so just take that with a grain of salt. Next part you're losing money on is loss of rental. I don't even know if some of you have heard of this. But if you're on the 60/40 plan, you get it up to $50 a day. What loss of rental means is if my car gets in an accident, it's in the shop for 2 weeks, I'm not getting paid. I'm literally sitting back and getting screwed. But on the 60/40 plan, you get loss of rental. You get paid up to $50 a day while the car is gone. But the only problem is for some people like myself, the 90/10 plan makes a lot more sense, but I'm not getting loss of rental. Now, we learned this on our first rental. We rented out to somebody. They wrecked it and it had to be repaired. It was 2 weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is crazy. I made a couple calls. I'm like, is there any way we can subsidize this? Like, what's the deal with this? How does the insurance work? Because I was still understanding at the time. And they said, well, send everything through your insurance company and you're going to get loss of rental and loss of depreciation. I said, what are those? So I found out that we were going to get paid for the time that is gone, and we were going to get paid for the value that the vehicle dropped. Because when a car gets in an accident, it loses value. If it's a major accident, minor accident, doesn't matter. They have a calculated amount that every car drops based on its current value, based on what an accident does to the report and does to the value. So that's huge. I mean, those are just two places you're losing out on money. Loss of value. And that's something Turo, if I'm not mistaken, Turo does not pay for that at all. Like, just at all. Another place that you're losing money out on is young driver fee. I'm sure if you've seen somebody screenshot and they're under 25, they have a young driver fee. Turo's making $25 to $30 a day. And I know I don't know how many young people you're renting to, but if you think about, okay, I'm renting to like 3 people a month, 5 days each, that's 15 days times 30. Well, I guess that's $450. I didn't really need my calculator. $450. And that may not sound like a lot, but like that's just in one area. That's $450 you're losing out on 3 reservations, 15 days total in one area. That's like such a small part. Another place you're losing out on is additional driver. And it's a very similar thing. This is something that you're not always going to get. Like if it's a spouse or a really close family member, like direct family, you typically won't charge that, and normally the big car rental companies don't. But if it's like a friend, or if it's like a buddy or a coworker, like you're going to charge that additional driver fee because you have to get their insurance. You have 2 people on the policy now. You have 2 people on the rental agreement. It's more in the process. But you get paid out for it, and that's something you don't see with Turo. So additional driver, huge. Another part is insurance. Do you know you can sell insurance to people? For us, we're able to sell full coverage insurance. If they have just liability, we can't sell it if they have nothing. But if they have liability, we can sell them full coverage insurance and make $7 a day. Now, this isn't like a huge thing. We're not raking in money from it, but it adds up. I mean, we have probably made a couple $1,000s on reservations just this year on private, being able to sell insurance. And it's just an added bonus. It's an added way to get more revenue. Let's think. What else is there? Oh, well, I mean, this is huge. more money per day. Problem with Turo is the busy months are pretty good. I mean, everybody has high prices. Everybody's trying to get booked out. Coming to low season, it's a fight. It's a fight to the death. Like, first of all, your car might not get booked. You don't even know if it's going to get booked out. And if it does, it's going to be crazy low because it's a fight to the bottom. Everybody wants to have the lowest prices as possible. It's just crazy. But on private, you could make more money per day. And I'll give you just like 2 examples of this. Last year, even in high months, we were making a lot more in private. One example is our maximum daily rate on like a Chevy Malibu high season, which is March for us. We did, I think it was 79 a day, 79, maybe 89. Our maximum on private was 109 a day, which is like a huge bump. I mean, that's crazy. Another example is a minivan. Maximum on Turo was either 99 or 109. Maximum on private was $179 a day. That's a huge increase. I mean, if you think about like even a 25 to 50% bump in the slow months for every single day rate, I mean, let's just do some quick math. Let's just do some quick math on that. So I have 20 cars right now, okay? 20 cars, and let's say 20 days. Let's say an average of 20 days rented out. 20 times 20 equals 400. So that's 400 days where I could be getting more revenue. So now let's take a 50% bump. Let's say our average daily rate is $50 a day. So daily rate, 50. Okay, so if we have $50 a day, 400 times 50, we're looking at 20,000. Okay, now daily rate private, 75. So that's just a 50%, and we can get up to 100%. So 75 times 400, we're looking at 30,000. We're looking at a $30,000 increase just on daily rentals. That doesn't include insurance, additional driver, young driver fee, loss of rental, loss of value, the accident that you have to pay $25 to $100 for, and then the percentage that Turo takes. That's like just a really small piece of it. Another thing that is a big one is additional fees. I don't know about you guys, but I know for sure that there are times where I didn't get the cleaning, I didn't get the smoking, and like there's proof of everything. There's stains, there are people that smoked in it, and you don't get it. You're hoping that Turo will pay you, but maybe they won't, maybe they will. It's like sometimes it's a 50-50 chance unless you have like great evidence. Like there's of course ways to get higher conversion on stuff like that, but it's still, you're not sure. Like an example is we had a friend, he rented out a car. It was so dirty. There were huge stains on the seats. He found a tooth in it, a loose tooth, just like in the side thing, which is, first of all, I mean, it's disgusting. But like the car was filthy. I mean, I'm just like getting grossed out thinking about it. And there's ash everywhere. There's stuff everywhere. He didn't get the cleaning or smoking fee. But when you do private, you're going to get the cleaning fee because you have a deductible. You're going to get the smoking fee because you have a deductible. You're going to get additional miles, and you can change additional miles. Additional miles on Turo is daily price divided by how many miles you can give them, but you can set that yourself. So miles, smoke, and then dirty. Last thing I'll say is deductible, okay? Equals whatever you want it to be. I mean, 250 to 500. You set that, so if something goes wrong, if they need to extend it, actually you don't want to take money from deductible for extension. A lot of reasons, because they can extend past deductible, then you're screwed, you can't recollect. But like, just look at this. Look at this board. You make the decision. That's all I got in me today. I hope you learned something. I hope you got some value from this. Please, if you could, subscribe to the channel and let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you want to learn. I'd love to teach you whatever I can. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.